Hello, everyone. My name is Ronald Moulton, Mo Moulton, and we welcome you to historic Anacostia at Checker Enterprises, home of the Secret Garden and future home of the Go-Go Museum. It's really a pleasure to welcome you here today because what's happening is very important because I know about this work. I know in the Bible it talks about people who've been through things are the people who God used to come back and serve the people and lead people who are in trouble in the right direction. And this is what our mayor and our city is doing today with people from the community who are a part of the solution. When you look at Checker Enterprise and what you see right here, people don't know how this started. But it started from a girl, a woman, a lady by the name of Dion Reeder giving Checker Enterprises a $10,000 mini grant so that we can give young people hope, right? Ron Moat was sleeping on his grandmother's couch, and a car was cutting off with no gas money, and she gave us the grant to give people hope. And it was a lady by the name of Chief Diane Grooms, when Checker was down Gallery Place, who, said, how do we fix this? And a young transgender woman by the name of Star, who's out here, who called me for help from prison. And when she came home, she pulled the leaders of Checker together, and we started something special, but it would not have came without the support of the community, people like Scotty Irvin, who helped give us money to keep this going. So when people say this work can't work, I tell them it does work. It just takes some time. This has been a 10-year process of getting people off the street, giving people hope. Trey, who works with Damien Ministry, just brought her house, right, with a voucher from public housing. So we're not just talking about squashing beefs. We're talking about moving people forward, right? And that's what this has to be about. And we know it can be done because right now, the children that I'm talking about, names are on deeds on these buildings right here. Their names are on deeds. They own 3 buildings. And Mayor Bowser has put so much into this work. When Pizza Harless did this work, we didn't have, this is 10 times the amount of money that we had. Over $40 million. There's never been an investment like this into the people. Never. Never. But what I want the naysayers to understand, it took 9 years of doing this work and learning it to get 4 years of the decrease in violence, right? This city went 10 years without supporting this work. So don't think everything is going to happen overnight. But there have been some results. I see Tony Lewis Jr. out here. I see Marcus Ellis from the One's office. I see my guy back there from Searson Quarters who used to work with the Pizza Harlots that was a part of the street commission that helped stop reducing the violence. Lando, I got to keep it real, right? It's people out here who have seen this work happen. So without further ado, I just want to thank you for coming and let people know this is one of the greatest things that you could have ever done, Mayor, was invest in the people, the change agents of our community. I see the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Linda Hopper Harley. Some people say, well, why do you have an officer deal with gun violence? Because we have to change the mentality of the people in our community if we want them to change. And we have to do it strategically with a plan of action. That's why. So without further ado, I want to bring up somebody who has used this space and works with her kids back here, Miss McNeil. And tragically, her son was killed as she was doing the work, right? The sacrifices that people like her make, you cannot reward them enough. And we really appreciate you, sister, not only for sharing your time. We lost your son, but your son is something that motivates us all to know that we got to keep on doing better, right? And you are a shining star in our community in Anacostia, and we really appreciate you, and we really love you. And I'd like to welcome you to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Crystal McNeil. Today is a hard day for me and my family. My son got taken away from me July the 4th, 2020. Today was my first day seeing the guys that took my son away from me. These threes on my shirts, on all shirts, is about my son. This was his football number, his favorite number, and the DM3 is Davon McNeil and his football number. Today was so hard for me. I get emotional. I'm emotional right now up here talking. The work I do in this community, before I started doing this work, I was doing it for free. I was feeding the guys. I was getting them help with their resumes, filling out job applications. I was doing a lot. Then I ended up running into Wally down DRS. Wally came into the building and asked me, do I know these guys? It hurt because the same guys he asked me did I know was the same guys that took my son away. I told him yes. He asked me, can I get a meeting with the guys? I said, of course. I help the guys out all the time. Tell me what day you would like to meet. He said on a Friday. So when Wally and Mr. Dill McFadden came to my house, I had around like 30 guys in my house, right? So Wally met, they talked. Wally wanted to do a ceasefire. I told him I could make that happen. So I asked him just to tell me the tier ones he wanted me to get. He told me I got them to agree. And Sonny did his part down Good Hope Road. So we did a ceasefire and try to get them to squash the beefs. Me still being a violence interrupter in the same community that took my child, it hurts. For me going in that community, I talk to Miss Dion all the time. I love you to tell her how hard it is for me going inside that community, still working with the same people that post these guys on their page and say freedom, then post my son, right? The reason why I'm still doing this work because I love the work that I'm doing. I get phone calls like 3 o'clock in the morning asking me, can I pick them up from school? Because these kids messing with them in school. So I'm going to Kramer, I'm going to Anacostia, I'm going to Ballou, picking up these kids, making sure they get home safe. And I'm hurting real bad. I wrote some stuff down. I'm sorry, y'all. Whew. Today was hard for me, y'all, just to see the guys that took my child away from me. Whew. In honor of my son, Davon McNeil, I stand before you with a heavy heart and unanswered question. No mother should endure this pain. No child deserves to be robbed on their childhood hopes, dreams, or life. On June the 24th, Davon will be graduating from Kramer Middle School. Yes, there is something nobody can explain why he is now walking. I just can't process that. I'm still questioning how much does Black Lives Matter and how is it that no child is left behind. Despite my pain, my family pain, I never stopped supporting the same community where my son took his last breath. I can't stand here and say I have the same ongoing support. It hurts no matter what you see on the surface, it hurts. The same young guys who get a spank on their hand, well, I got a slap on my face today. Oh my God, y'all, I fed them. I made sure they was good. I sent them to Far Southeast for job readiness programs. I sent them to the WAN's office for the pathway program. Some of my guys, they graduated from the pathway program, y'all. In the community, we call each other family. But it hurt that my son is gone. I'm just asking for more support. I go around it and I do my job, I do my work. And I be scared sometimes because the stuff they put on social media, the stuff they say about me and my family, it hurts. But I'm still out here doing the work. I've been off of work for a year and a half, but I'm still doing the work with J&J and Fox Southeast. It hurts so much that I'm not getting the support that I really need. Far Southeast, J&J, building block. My cousin, she like to stay in the cut. Lala, I call us the day they squad. They have the threes on it. They come out their own pockets and help support me too. We just took the kids to Florida. I thank you again for our Southeast and J&J. We took the kids to Florida. I drove my own transportation. I took 15 kids from the community. Miss Amy, thank you too. I took 15 kids from the community, y'all. We stayed on there for a whole week. The youngest child I took with me is my little cousin, Zaid. He only 6 years old. He lost his mother. His mother was the young lady that got killed on Easter Avenue that got shot up in her car. He keep on asking me when his mother and Day going to come back. I don't have the right answers. He told me he wanted to go to heaven at the age of 11. And that's how old my son was when he helped me. I'm out here supporting all the mothers. We have a voice. And I tell them that I got so many DMs, y'all, from other mothers. And I don't have the right answers, but I make sure I help them out. And I'm still hurting. I lost my mother. And I'm not over my son's grief. And I want to thank you so much for helping me out and my family out. Miss Holly Harper, I want to thank you because what this means to me, it means a lot to see my son picture on stops. To know that y'all still care about me and my son, it means a lot to me. I am hurting. It hurts bad. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry, y'all. Today was not a good day for me. I'm sorry. But I would like to introduce the Mayor Bowser. And I appreciate you so much. I love you, Miss Harper. I love you, Dion. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry. Thank you.
Let's have a moment of silence and prayer for Davon and Crystal and their healing and comfort. We know today that the people responsible for Davon's death were held accountable in our courts. We know that doesn't bring him back, and it is a painful, tragic, flesh and blood reminder of the cost of gun violence, that they are real people, real children, real futures that end when people recklessly use guns in our community. Today is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. People all over the country will be wearing orange. We will be reminded that in the United States of America, there are more guns than people. We will be reminded that people don't have the courage to regulate how people get their hands on guns. We will be reminded that our children have to think about when they go to school or go home from school or go out to play or visit family and friends, that a careless bullet, could hurt them. We know in our city, and we heard from Mo, who knows about the work, about reaching young people, about reaching people who are using guns. how to stop the violence. We, of course, in our city have been experiencing the same troubling trend that we've seen across our nation, especially in the last 2 years, an increase in gun violence. Just last week, we lost another child, a 16-year-old boy who was shot and killed in our city. We know that people are tired and scared and sad and hurt, but still willing, like you just heard from Crystal, to lock arms to make sure that we're protecting more children in our city. So the campaign we're talking about today is a campaign for peace. It is about reaching people before they pick up a gun, or getting to people who have already picked up a gun and getting them on a safer path forward. It's going to take all of us. I wish as your mayor I could say that I had the magic wand, but I think we all know it takes all of us. It takes the community, it takes families, it takes our nonprofits, it takes our schools to keep our children, our grandmothers, and all of us safe. We know that this pandemic has upended so much of our life. This isolation and uncertainty, I don't even think we know the full impact of. And we know it also has created an environment where young people, and when I say young people, that goes up a lot of years, not just our young people under 18, but a lot of people are living on the edge. And living on the edge creates a lot of desperate situations and tragic decisions. So we know that we have to do all we can as a government and a community to get people in a better place, get our young people connected to activities, make sure that they stay engaged in activities as they get older. It also means that we have to get to our young adults, late teens, early 20s, that may be disconnected from school, disconnected from work, disconnected from family, and get them connected to jobs and opportunity. The good thing about this discussion is that we have so many tools at our disposal, and we have invested so much, as Ron has mentioned. For example, we extended many years ago our summer youth program to include young people up to the age of 24. We have reestablished our MPD cadet program to get to young people in high school as high school students, where they're paid to go to school and paid to learn. We are also very focused on connecting our young people to recreation activities and camp and good paying jobs with all of those opportunities. And also making sure that all of us know that there is help for our mental health. And too frequently, especially among African Americans, there's taboo among asking for help if you're not feeling okay. But I'm here to tell you, I go across all 8 wards of the city. I talk to people all day, and a lot of people are not okay. And that doesn't mean that a doctor has told you or diagnosed you with some mental health condition. It could be elevated stress, elevated anxiety, profound grief. People have lost a lot. And so we want you to be able to talk to someone, and I want you to know that we have a 24/7 hotline that you can reach out to. I'm going to give you the number. It's 1-888-793-4357. We don't want to ever accept that the level of gun violence that we've seen in our neighborhoods or homicides is normal, or that our children normalize being scared to be kids. So we say it all the time, and we know that for everybody who needs help, we want you to reach out to us. Linda Harley Harper is our gun violence prevention director. You're going to hear from her in a second. And she's going to tell you all the ways through building blocks, through the ONE's office, through SYEP, through DPR, ways that we can get connected and stay connected and stop our residents from using guns against each other. Now, it's so often the case, many of the homicides in the District of Columbia, many of people have lost their life. The shooter didn't wake up that morning thinking they were going to kill anybody. It was a fight. It was a disagreement. It was thinking that you're going to shoot across a populated park or field or parking lot. And that bullet that didn't have a name on it takes the life of someone. So one thing that we know that we can do for that argument, if there wasn't a gun involved, likely people would have lived to see another day. So removing guns from our community, we're going to continue to ask for the public's health on. If you know that there is an illegal gun in your house, if you know that there's the likelihood that your loved one could be using that gun or is at risk because of threats, please ask us for help. We are, like Ron said, making really historic investments, but we need to make sure that people are connected to those interventions. I'm grateful to work with the council on investing in more life coaching, more support for our citizens returning home to us to transition back into the community, up to $11 million. Crystal has already shared with you that she answered the call to do violence interruption work. And we're adding $10 million to hire more people like Crystal in the community and can bring 15 people in a room that likely want to do something else. One other thing that we know is some folks that are carrying guns, they're scared too. They're scared too. And so we want to help them be in a place where they don't feel like they need a gun and won't use a gun and are hopeful about what their tomorrows are. We've also heard loud and clear from our kids and our school communities. We're going to keep working on security in our buildings, but for safe passage from school to home is also a huge investment for us. You probably heard that DPR is doing DPR all night in all 8 wards, and they will be making announcements about how to get involved. We also have, over my time as mayor, invested in more DC government jobs for our residents who have been public safety involved or Pathways graduates. And this year, we're investing over $7 million in 110 dedicated year-round employment opportunities at DPW. So thank you, Deputy Mayor, for working on that with us. Pathways has been one of our most successful violence interruption programs because we meet people exactly where they are. We ask them to work with us. We subsidize their employment opportunities. We ask them to engage in the trauma services that they need and the job training that they need so they can be on their way to a permanent job. Finally, I just want to say, we're standing here with our public safety team. We're standing here with peacemakers. We want you to go to 202forpeace.dc.gov so you can see how you can get involved. 202forpeace.dc.gov. We will be focused on events all month. We want you to go to an event, but more than that, we want you to reach out to people who don't know about the services that we're talking about. And we want you to check in on moms, check in on kids that are experiencing grief and trauma. Let them know that we're just not going to be here today, but every day. We love you. We're so sorry, but we will honor your son by doing everything that we can to promote peace. So Linda, let me have you speak on behalf of the Gun Violence Prevention Office.
Good morning. All of this orange looks great out here today. And DC is representing today on the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We know that the government cannot solve gun violence alone. It is going to take each and every one of us to bring our gifts, our talents, and our intentional efforts to this effort to prevent gun violence in our city. We started this week with supporting the launch of the DC Peace Academy, which is a privately funded collaboration among those on the front lines. Our own UDC will soon be launching an academic certificate program that will complement and invest in some of the same frontline workers. From day one in this position, the mayor has charged me and challenged me to ensure that there is effective collaboration among government agencies, community stakeholders, and interfaith communities. Not a small charge, but we are getting it done. And today is a representation of that. You are a representation of that. Today, being here in Ronald Moulton's Secret Garden, in the community on MLK, joined by all of you community members, Crystal McNeil, and honoring those who are doing the frontline work. All of us here together, the government agencies, we are representing the collaboration that it's going to take for us to impact gun violence here in our communities. The 202 for Peace campaign represents collaboration among the Executive Office of the Mayor, Office of the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, the Department of Parks and Recreation, the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens, and the Corrections Information Council. And we have all joined to develop, support, and lead this citywide message of peace. And we're asking for your support in helping to spread the message and to join the movement. This campaign includes all of you. We know that it will take each and every one of us. I keep saying that because very often what I hear is finger pointing, and you have to point the finger back at you as well. What are you doing to make sure that we have no more homicides in our city? And what I know is that if Crystal McNeil can still stand and do the work, that I can do it too. We want you to wear orange. We want to spread the message and ask our neighbors to join the movement. No one is winning. We are all hurting. At this point, all of us have been touched by gun violence in our city. We know that there's no one who is left untouched. We're asking for all of us to spread the message to our neighbors to stop the killing. Make our beautiful city safe for our children and our elders. We want all of our residents to be safe. I want to acknowledge that we have John Thompson III in the audience with us today. He's in the back. Thank you for coming. Thank you, John. John is a native Washingtonian, but he's also here representing Monumental Basketball. He's the Vice President of Basketball Player Development and Engagement. And that includes the Mystics and the Wizards and the Go-Go's. And if you don't know, the Mystics have been extremely active in this gun violence awareness space. And Monumental Basketball has agreed to partner and join with us in the 202 for Peace campaign. So stay tuned for that. We're going to continue to highlight others in our community who are doing really great work around this. And so you'll see that in the 202 for Peace campaign. And Delano is going to talk more about the specifics around the campaign. But we have songs coming out. Dana McDaniel is going to make us famous with a peace song in our city. And so we just encourage you to join the movement. We encourage you to spread the message, and we encourage you to wear orange and put DC on the map for being a safe city. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning, everyone. My name is Delano Hunter, and I'm proud to serve as the Interim Director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement and the Director of the D.C. Department of Parks and Recreation. And first, I want to join the Mayor just by thanking Crystal for her bravery and her ongoing commitment to creating safer communities. Next, I'd like to commend you. Many of you here are on the front lines. You're a part of community-based organizations. You're embedded in communities. And because of your collective efforts, we know that together we'll be able to achieve safer communities and we'll get through this period. Today is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. But given the crisis of gun violence in America and in our own city, we know that 1 month of recognition isn't enough. We know the truth is that every day, every member of our community plays an essential role in raising awareness and peacemaking. And that is exactly what the 202 for Peace campaign is all about. It's about empowering everyone, but in particular our young people who continuously bring new life to this movement to take action in their community. It's also about empowering the voices of those that have been impacted by gun violence, because we know that it's a call to action, and you saw some of that this morning. And also, it's about helping community members find ways to get involved. I think the Mayor and Director Holly Harper said it best. It's not just government, it's faith-based, it's community-based organizations, it's residents. We know that we all have a role to play in making our community safer. So I want to encourage you, I'm going to give you some logistics to check out our website, 202forpeacedc.gov. And there you'll be able to do a few important things. The first is to request assistance for getting your local project or event off the ground. The second is you'll be able to submit a virtual memorial in honor of a loved one that you've lost here in the district. And you'll be able to find out about community events that are happening in your area, including our Gun Violence Awareness Community event tomorrow at RFK Skate Park. From noon to 4 p.m. where we'll have food, entertainment, and resources from ones and over 12 district government agencies and community-based organizations. So if you've been in the sidelines or on the sidelines and you want to do something about gun violence that's plaguing our community, consider this your call to action. And I want to close with a message to the young men in our community, because you have the potential to be our most impactful peacemakers. We want to acknowledge that your trauma is real, and taking care of your mental health is essential. And ones, we have resources and we're here to support. Second, I want to encourage you to connect with your local roving leader, credible messenger, or violence interrupter, or community-based organization. A number of them are here and they'll be there tomorrow. These community peacemakers are here for you. They work for you. We work for you. And it's our job to engage with you to ensure that we're all on the same page. And last but not least, I want you to know that there's nothing more important than your life and freedom. There's nothing more important than your life and freedom. And your community and your family, they're dependent on you, and we're here to support you at every step of the way. So now at this time, I'm going to welcome the Mayor back to the podium for Q&A. Thank you.
It is true. There's nothing more important than your life and your freedom. So you've heard from most of our team, but I did want to acknowledge others who are present. Chris Geldhart is the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice. Lamont Carey, I think, is here. Lamont is right there, who is the Director of the Mayor's Office on Returning Citizens. Hillary Cairns is also right here. She is the Director of DYRS. Michelle Garcia is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Victim Services and Justice Grants. Christina Washington. Christina is the Ward 8 Moker. So she's the Mayor's representative in Ward 8. You have in your commissioners, Monique Diop, Monique, and Salima Dafo. Thank you, Celine, for being here. And Dion has been referenced, but I want to reference her again. She's the executive director for the Far East Family Strengthening Collaborative, which works with a number of our agencies, including ones, CFSA, a number of them, right, to make sure that the government is connected to the community in providing services. So I want to thank you all for the work that you do and will do for 202 for Peace. Okay, so with that, I'll take a couple of questions. Yes.
There's been a series of mass shootings over the past couple weeks. sort of overshadowing a lot of the gun violence in cities. How do you, on this day, call attention to the violence that you and other mayors deal with on a daily basis, with attention paid on those?
So all the gun violence is bad. If that's your question, what's bad? It's all bad, and our issue, thankfully, we want to be able to. We have the tools that we need to concentrate on all of our concerns. So for us in the district, gun violence in our neighborhoods is what we are talking about. We are talking about what the Gun Violence Prevention Office is focused on. We're talking about what all of our nonprofits are focused on, so that we can drive down the incidence of gun violence in our communities. Now, if you talk about school shootings, we're all devastated. And in fact, I know it has triggered a lot of trauma in our communities to see, babies in their school where they should be safe, gunned down. And I start off by talking about what we need to do nationally about guns. There's no reason why anybody needs an AR-15. We have to ban AR-15s, period. The amount of destruction that they can create in relatively short time is unconscionable. This is not a weapon used for sport. It's used to hunt people.
How big of a challenge is it to get that message out? The mass shooting certainly has brought attention from the White House, from Congress, and revisiting some of these bills and restrictions.
I mean, unfortunately, Peter, I just think that it's a reflection of how much partisan politics is affecting common sense. Americans, by and large, they support background checks. You had an 18-year-old go buy a gun and a couple of days later shoot up a school. Tulsa, you had somebody do it that same day. And by and large, Americans support background checks. So we know that there's a few politicians who are appealing to the fringes of their base and preventing us from keeping kids safe. Now that's one issue, but we got to keep working on it. Now, we don't have 2 senators to represent us in that discussion, but the president said it well. We need 10 Republicans to join with common sense regulation about guns. Now, that's talking about legal guns. What we dealing with mostly is illegal guns in the hands of people who are willing to use them. So, Peter, our whole focus today is how do we make sure people know that there's services. They don't have to be on the street scared with a gun. Talk to us so that we can help you get on a different path.
Just one more follow-up. I think some of the families that we've talked to in the last few days have felt frustrated that message is very difficult to get out until a mass shooting at a school or at a grocery store happens, that the everyday violence in cities like the district doesn't resonate, and these issues don't get
if you're talking about the national press, we don't have any control over that. I think you and our local press in the national discussion, well, I think that all of us need to be challenged to do more. All of us. And so that's with national coverage. I've sat in the White House at the right hand of the President of the United States talking about gun violence. In the American Rescue Plan, the President put in funds so that we could do more violence intervention work. He sent his domestic policy advisor, D.C. native Susan Rice, to walk around with us to learn about our violence intervention programs. But he also made sure that in the American Rescue Plan, cities like ours could make sure that we have the police that we need to keep our cities safe. So I know that there's a lot. The Congress is stalled on, other reforms that we think could keep our cities safer. But we have to do what we have to do, one step at a time. And part of what we have to do is make sure that we have a comprehensive plan to deal with what we're talking about. That includes law enforcement, that includes violence prevention, that includes trauma services, and it includes job opportunity. Any other questions? Yes. No, I'm going to take press questions first.
What more can you tell us about the public awareness campaign for this 202 initiative? There was a mention of a new song.
Sure.
What other ways, can people really just like relate and share, and find out?
Well, you heard Delano talk about it, and there's more information on our website. He mentioned some of the big. Do you know the song? I think I discovered who knows the song. Come up to the mic.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dana McDaniel, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And we're happy to announce that one of our Pathways ambassadors, Mr. Roger Ball, who is a music artist, who's been very active at making sure his message is a promotion of peace and positivity. He's actually created 2 songs for this campaign that he's going to perform for us tomorrow, and we may even have an opportunity to play on today's sound system. One of those songs is entitled Shoot for the Stars, which we love, put down your guns and shoot for the stars, and the other is entitled Hands Up. So thank you to Roger Ball and the Pathways ambassadors for their support in promoting and creating positive music for the campaign. Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions for you. We've been told anecdotally by police officers that some of the more severe crime that juveniles are involved in, including carjacking, has slowed down as kids went back to school in person. What is the plan to address when school lets out that level of not having the same adult supervision for the summer?
Well, we will lay out our whole summer plan at a future date. And I think Deputy Mayor Delano, do you want to talk a little bit more about how we are engaging kids? First, our SYEP program, again, it serves young people up to age 24. I think the number of people that we have engaged is 10,000, but I'm going to get that number back to you. DPR is providing outstanding camp opportunities, again, 6,000. 12,000 young people are engaged in with the Department of Fun for summer camp opportunities. Some of those include enrichment opportunities, so they will be having fun and learning at the same time. We have a larger number of children who will be engaged in summer school at DCPS. We know that we have some catching up to do with our children because they were disconnected from school. So these summer school opportunities are really huge opportunities for them as well. And so we will continue to talk about all of the recreation opportunities. But you raise a point. As we know, we have counselors and mental health professionals in school. The thing I would ask parents to do right now is if you know your child needs help, call your principal, stop in, talk to your principal to make sure that you're connected to all of the services that the school has to offer before school lets out. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question I have, the debate was held a couple nights ago, and at that debate you were accused by 2 council members of being slow to fund other violence prevention services like violence interrupters. We've got the mayoral election coming up. There's a lot of people here who have been doing the work for a long time. How do you answer people who say, or how do you answer that this is not about the elections coming up?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
The work has been done for a long time. There are a lot of people here who have been doing this work for a long time, but now we have this event here today, and we're highlighting a very important violence interrupter in the community. A couple of days ago, there were 2 council members who accused you of being slow to fund other violence interruption programs or other methods of addressing violence, including the violence interruptions program from your office. How do you answer that this event today here is not about the upcoming mayoral elections?
Oh, that would just be silly. if that's the accusation, then people don't know our work in the community each and every day. So unlike some people that you might be referring to, I've been on the front line every day for the last 8 years, including the last 2 years when some people were at home working. We were together working to keep our communities safe. I also mentioned something in the debate, although we're not here to do politics, but it is an important thing for everybody to know. In our city, the mayor proposes budgets, and I'm proud that I created the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement that is now 5 years old, that went from a fledgling agency to one that is now has over 100 staff people, mental health professionals, and we are going to be adding additional capacity with life coaching. So we did that together. And what it is true, that everybody has a record, right? I have one. I can stand up and talk about mine and defend mine. But every council member, this is how it works. I propose a budget, but every council member votes on the budget to approve it. So really, who makes the budget is the Council of the District of Columbia. So if any person, any council member is upset about funding, then they could have funded it. If they thought there should have been more in any given year, they should have put it in there in any given year. So if there's ever a question about a shortage of funding for a priority, you have to ask the council. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, Rafael with Channel 9. I know I've heard you time and time again, as well as Chief Conti, express frustration in terms of the prosecution of people involved in shootings, forensics also being a huge part of that. How do you feel with the recent bill that was proposed to overhaul DFS completely and making it an independent agency?
Well, I actually haven't seen the bill, so it would be hard for me to talk about it, other than we got a briefing from the council member, and it sounds like he took our report and created a bill, which would be fine. I have said that I wanted to spend a little bit more time trying to see what the appropriate structure is for DFS, because I firmly believe that the problem at DFS is not that that it needs to be independent from me. The issue is that it's independent from the prosecutors. And that has created the tensions at DFS during my administration and during the previous administration. So any overhaul has to address that tension, or we'll be back here 5 years from now. So we want to make sure that we have a fix that is going to address the structural issues. As I understand it, the council is proposing having the DFS director have a term. We don't have a problem with that. In fact, the DFS director already has a term. Yes. Oh, sorry, Lou, and then here.
Yes, Mayor. Lou Chabaro, Washington Blade. Studies have shown, Mayor, that among the victims of violence that have been talked about today, both in D.C., of course, and across the country, have been members of the LGBTQ community, especially transgender women of color who have been targeted for violent crimes. Could you say whether the people operating the important programs that you've been talking about here today, the violence interrupting programs, have the sensitivity to provide the services for that particular community?
That's an excellent question, and we expect all of our violence interrupters to have the sensitivity training and LGBTQ competence, but I'll actually have to confirm what training they have. You heard Linda talk about an academy that we will be supporting, where violence interrupters will get training and support and be able to earn a certificate, and we recognize that we need that additional training and support for our violence interrupters. But let me confirm the specifics. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, Darío López Capera from Telemundo 44. Many of the Hispanic community are victim to the gun violence too, and many of them don't speak English. How the administration could be aware of them and try to use these resources?
Very good. So we have had some specific initiatives that are really focused on Latino victims of crime, especially involving robbery That is where we have seen increases. So we do some outreach, and we do it in a language appropriate way, and we try to target the areas in the city of most concern. And so the Mayor's Office of Latino Affairs is part of that outreach, as well as other agencies like DCRA who have been a part of that outreach, and we're going to keep it up. Okay, final, yes?
Yes. Good morning, Mayor. Dave Laval with WDVM, WDCW. Just to, for background, or to recap something you said, there were a couple of figures that you gave on money spent on programs aimed at reducing violence. May I get those figures from you again, please?
Okay, I'm going to have to refer to my list, and I can also have Susanna give you some of that information. I'll give you a few. It's a pretty long list. One of the new ones is $2 million to support life coaches. Part of the work that we did in building blocks and identifying the people we know who have used guns and could use guns in the future is that we think that our violence interrupters or outreach workers need additional support from life coaches who are really helping to navigate our residents to the services that they need and helping them track and stay engaged in those services. So we think that is going to make a big difference. We're adding $10 million to hire more people who are doing violence interruption work. We take this very seriously, as I'm pretty sure you can see and you can glean from what Mo said, that we need people who have the influence in the community and the trust of the community and accountability to the program to do this work for us. So it's not cut out for everybody. And it is work that adds a lot of stress to their own lives. So we are seeking people who fit the bill. So if you know that you can touch other people in your community, influence them, help them stick with a program, and be accountable to us for the work that you're doing, then please get in touch. DPR also came in with a pretty enhanced budget request that I approved and the council approved, adding $13.5 million in programming for the upcoming year. Some of it we can start this summer. Some of it is going to be available next summer. And it is going to allow us to touch almost everybody who wants to be in a summer camp, as one example. Yes.
Slightly off topic, but currently 34% of Black Washingtonians own homes. Could you say if the Strike Force initiative that your administration is doing, is it on track to launch this month still? And what's a goal figure for increasing Black ownership, home ownership in DC? It's 34% now. What's a number you'd like to see, reasonably soon?
Well, I don't actually want to get ahead of the work of the Strike Force, and the reason that I'm creating a Strike Force instead of just launching the program is because we really want to crowdsource some ideas so that we're making the best use of that money. I got $10 million in this budget. The council approved it to create a Black Homeowners Fund. And so we want to hear from professionals in mortgage and finance and financial literacy and first-time home buyers programs. We want to see what the returning citizen community is saying, what moms are saying. So we need to do some work before we can establish that goal. But the overarching goal is that we know Black Washingtonians create their wealth and generational wealth in home ownership. So, and we also know that there's a systematic generational exclusion in some neighborhoods for Black Washingtonians being able to purchase homes and grow that wealth. So that is why we are concentrating this $10 million to start, I should say. And if we find that these programs are going to be effective, then we'll keep it going. So we want to be able to address our resident who's living in public housing, who may be able to convert their public housing voucher into home ownership. We want to address what I hear a lot from grandmas and moms whose kids have gone off to college, and when they come back to D.C., they don't see a path to home ownership. So we want to address that. We want to even address the senior citizen who has a home, who wants to be able to make sure that their children can have that home when they're gone. And so that's why we will have a legal fund that helps people plan for who's going to have their home. I can't tell you the number of sibling groups that I have talked to over the years who are trying to get clear title to their home because mom or grandmom died and nobody has title, nobody's taking responsibility, and guess what happens? They lose their home or they sell it when really if they had a plan they would be able to keep it for their family and the next generation. So that's what it's about.
Is the task force still going to convene this month? That was the original plan.
Yes, so I actually we're reaching out to the members that are approved just yesterday. So I've been busy. Keep in mind that the council just approved the budget last week, so we couldn't get ahead of that approval. It's still not final, as you know, but we're going to convene the task force in anticipation of a final budget. All right. Thank you, everybody.